1, go. 2, 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 1, go. Yeah, there we go. Okay, that's frame perfect. We both had to each press a button on the exact same frame, and that's why that trick becomes so stupidly difficult. In any case, that's the first and probably one of the hardest menus in the game out of the way. We're going to do some quick shopping. We'll explain how that works in a moment, and then we're going to move on to our first boss. Indy, you want to explain how that trick we did just worked?
Nah, you go ahead.
Okay. So what we did...
I need to mesh.
Yeah, fair enough. So what we just did is called the equipment glitch, and it's a PSP exclusive glitch to Final Fantasy 1, where by going from a weapon slot to an armor slot on the same frame as loading in the menu, you can switch characters and equip equipment on characters that's not supposed to equip it. Additionally, because we swapped from a weapon to an armor slot, we caused the values to load of those weapons into the armor slot, which corresponds to different values and therefore different pieces of armor. As such, we were able to glitch hammer, which is a pretty weak standard weapon, into the knight's armor, which is one of the most powerful pieces of armor in the game, and we were able to equip it on everybody on their gloves, so we have ridiculously high defenses now.
And now we're coming to our next equipment glitch, because we can not only do that on our armor, we can also do that for weapons.
This one's a little bit easier because we only have to go to the right and not to the left.
Oh.
Sorry, again. And there we go. And now, additionally to having the most powerful, or one of the best pieces of armor in the game, we also now have a Judgment Staff, which is the most powerful staff in the game, on every single one of our characters. And with that, we're going to finally head into the first boss. So, Garland.
Yeah, and Garland is going down very, very soon. And I really hope that no one dies. Yeah, and you will see that I do basically in the fights the most stuff, because I'm just holding X.
Yeah, that was the first boss of the game. That's Garland.
Yeah.
Having such powerful weapons this early on means this fight is a piece of cake, honestly.
Now we rescued the Princess Sarah, who was kidnapped by Garland. And she will give us a very, very important item. It's so important that you can't even miss it, but you only need it like an hour and a half, or well, hour and 20 late into the run. In, I think, the NES version and the PlayStation 1 version, you can miss it.
I'm not 100% sure about PSX. You definitely can miss it in the NES version, which would require you to go all the way back here and talk to the princess before you can actually beat the game.
Which is basically the general theme of the game. You need items. If you forget them, no one will tell you until you actually need them. And yeah, then you need to go all the way back.
So the bridge actually has a very important character here. You will see him on the bottom left of the bridge, so pay close attention to how everybody's working. Specifically how that guy is working. See, he's kind of a lazy bum there. In any case, as a reward for saving the princess, the king is going to build us a bridge so that we can continue on to the next town.
Which is pretty impressive. We saved someone and we're getting a bridge. That's nice.
Yeah, a ship would have been better, though.
Yeah, or an airship.
Or an airship. That would have been even better than that.
Or just some kind of wall glitch that brings us like 1,000 years back into the past. So we're able to kill someone who we think is already dead. Spoilers! But yeah. The game is... if you play it for the first time casually, it can be very annoying if you don't know where to go.
Also, that cutscene right there, it's not skippable in any version of the game except for this one. So that just saved us like a minute right there.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna move on to the next town.
Also, something very interesting about the encounter rate. Depending on what tile you're walking on, the encounter rate is different. In forest, for example, the encounter rate is way higher than just on normal grass or swamp. On water, the encounter rate is generally lower.
Yeah,
but-
water has really low encounter rate.
But yeah, also the encounters that you can get are very, very annoying.
The crazy horses are probably one of the worst things we can see here.
Because they are crazy. As
Yeah.
Frosty and Xeta.
Yeah, I don't like those guys anymore
Yeah.
after this.
Yeah.
But oh god. So you want to talk about ambushes?
Yeah. So there are 3 different types of encounters you can get. Normal encounters, preemptives, and ambushes. The chance of getting an ambush or a preemptive is 25%. The problem is, if you get an ambush, all of the enemies are attacking before you can even do something. And the amount of enemies you...
Oh, sorry, that's on me.
the amount of enemies you can have is somewhere between 1 and 9. And for example, those wolves are... Oh.
That's okay. It's okay.
Well, something for the fun. But yeah, the wolves, for example, can spawn in 9 packs. So if you get an ambush with 9 wolves, it's pretty annoying because you have to wait for all of them to attack before you can try to run away. And even then, it's really hard to run away from them.
Yeah, so here were the pirates, and this is where we used the actual effect of the Judgment Staff that we got earlier, which is by casting its spell, which is Flare, the most powerful black magic spell in the game. We also accidentally threw a hammer because menus as 2-player 1 controller is hard. But as a reward, we get ourselves a ship.
By the way, do you think we still have a judgment staff for the audience? I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, no, they
have to do it.
sniped a name incentive into a name that we both really, really dislike.
Yeah, carpet is not a good name.
So, yeah, no, we may get back to them on that. But before we do, we first have to beat the game regardless.
Yeah. And while we are making our way to the next spot, which we know because we're speedrunners, but casual players probably would struggle to actually find that way. Something interesting about the ship. If you're on the ship, you can do a minigame called 15 puzzles. And if you solve that puzzle somewhere between 30 and 60 seconds, you have a chance to get an item called Emergency Exit. That item can save us, if we get it, about like 2 minutes, I would say, in a later dungeon.
It loses about half a minute to get it, and it saves about 2 minutes on average. So you have a net time save of about a minute and a half on average. The downside is it's a 1 in 6 to get it. So on average, you're always going to lose time by trying for it.
Now we're basically starting our big fetch quest. Which
just before the cave, we heal.
Yeah, it's good.
Sort items first.
Yeah. Then let us do that first.
Go ahead. Circle. Yeah. We do the healing here because the next boss otherwise would have a chance to kill us, and dying essentially means just game over, start from the last save, and since we haven't saved, that's kind of bad.
I mean, we could do that and go with different names. I mean, not that we want that. I mean, things can happen, you know?
It wouldn't be intentional.
Nah.
Oh, this encounter in particular I want to mention because it's a super good encounter for a full bestiary run. Those are pretty rare, actually. In any case, this is a spiked tile. Used another hammer.
Oh.
Actually, no, you used a potion. Whatever.
Never mind.
You want to tell the people how spiked tiles work?
Oh, yeah. Technically, or like on normal tiles, you always have a chance to get an encounter or not. But there are also tiles called spike tiles. If you step on them, you always get an encounter. And you always get the same encounter. Well, the number of enemies differs already. In this case, you can get Pisco Demons. I think 4 is the maximum.
Yeah,
2 is the minimum.
It's between 2 and 4 Pisco Demons.
So, and we will get those spike tiles quite a lot here.
There's a handful of spike tiles that we have to cross over the course of the run. You'll see on those particular tiles you will always get a specific encounter. Even though the amount isn't exactly set, the fact that you get it and roughly what it is set, so you generally know how to play around it pretty well.
But these are a lot of encounters for this cave, because this cave tends to have like the lowest encounter rate in all of the dungeons.
Yeah, this is the dungeon with the lowest encounter rate, so that was pretty unlucky.
Yeah.
But on to our next boss fight, because there's actually quite a story going on here. It's basically one giant fetch quest. Just got the crown, and we need to bring that to the Dark Elf Astos. Gives us an eye, which we need to bring to a witch, who gives us a brew to wake up an elven prince. Will give us a key to open up a chest which contains explosives to open up a canal into the rest of the world. And basically all of that, we just need the explosives and open up that canal, which was in the starting town. The king could have just given that to us, but he didn't.
Instead, we got a bridge.
Instead, we got a bridge, yeah. I think the explosives would have been more useful, but
yeah.
You know, who am I to say? We need to be slow on the white mage, by the way, because I do need to switch the judgment staff here. As well as on the thief.
We're getting there, no worries.
Okay, so this is Astos, the Dark Elf. He wants to become the true Elven King. Oh, sorry. So the strategy here is to attack twice and use 2 judgment staffs. Or at least he knew who to attack.
Well, yeah. The thing is, Astos can do either physical attacks or a spell called Death, which is basically what it calls. We don't want the black mage and the white mage to die, but the warrior is usually the best. A thief is okay. The reason for that is later on we do a grind where we need to grind the black mage and the white mage to level 18.5. And the thief usually needs as much SP as he can to survive the final boss fight, but I think we're going with a special strat where we actually don't need the thief. OP.
Well, we'll kill him off before the end, yeah.
Nice.
We have our reasons. This is not fast, but it doesn't matter. So yeah, now we have a long way back to go to the witch that we mentioned earlier. We actually could have seen the witch Matoya earlier already, but it wouldn't have helped us because we need that crystal eye before we can actually get to her.
Also, one interesting thing about character development, the amount of HP, attack, and MP you get is always different and always random, but you always get the lowest or the highest state. So our black mage currently has 100 HP, which is pretty good, especially he needs quite a few HP to survive the grinding. But he looks to be on a very good way for the final boss.
Yeah, 100 HP at this point in the game is definitely a very decent amount. You generally want to have at least 200 going into the final boss. Ideally, you'd get him at closer to 300, which I have seen before, where you don't even need to buff him in any way. Wow, nice one step. So this is why this trek back takes very long. You may have noticed we're not great at running. We're not terrible at it, but we're not great at it. And that's mainly because we don't really have any items to help us run away from enemies yet. We'll be getting those items fairly soon, but it'll take us a while to actually gather those items. And it's a lot of the reason why we stop for specific pieces of weapons or armor. Well, mostly armor. It's just to help us run more easily from enemies, because nothing can really harm us if we want to.
Yeah. And generally, all those boss fights are pretty safe, except for
Andy.
1 and 2. Oh, sorry. Except for 1 and 2.
Here you'll see me attempt to avoid the forest as much as possible, which is just to try and save us from an encounter or two. No guarantees that we'll succeed, but we can at least try.
Now we're in Matoria's cave. Mentally, I'm already knocking on wood because you think that enemies are the worst thing in this game regarding RNG. Think again, because at least in my opinion, the worst thing are actually NPCs. They can block your way. And in this particular cave, those broomsticks can destroy runs.
Yeah, there was actually another runner of this game who lost world record to having the broom stuck in the doorway, which lost him about, I think, 15 seconds, and he ended like a few seconds behind world record. So yeah, NPCs can really screw you over there. Really just another instance of RNG outside of encounters and ambushes and
damage rolls.
Yeah.
Nice talking about the ambush.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll try to shut up now. Actually, I won't, but, you know. Yeah, we now have the brew that we need, and we can actually go to the Elven Prince. So we're going to make our way there.
One obvious question, mandatory shopping in Alfheim?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, we will do some mandatory shopping in Alfheim.
Because we need to buy a few healing items, gold needles in particular, because in one of the next dungeons there are enemies called cockatrices, and except for ambushing and just annoying you, they can petrify you. And if you don't have a gold needle, you have no way to heal that. And I lost many runs to them when I got petrified.
Yeah, I haven't lost that many to them, but I've definitely lost a fair share of runs to those things. In any case, we wake up the Elven Prince, who then gives us the Mystic Key as a reward. We're going to have to go to the other side of the castle. And interestingly enough, it's actually faster to walk outside of the castle on the left and then re-enter to walk there rather than just walking back to the entrance. Here comes another very difficult menu for us, so we're going to have to focus for a bit. So, host, if you have anything to talk about, now is a good time.
Perfect timing, because I was just about to fill in for a donation, which is 10 euros from Yatsuzume, saying, I want to donate a euro for every time I died, but I'm too lazy to actually count, so I'm guessing it was about 10. Thanks for having me, and I'm hoping to be around again another time.
Sorry.
You have more time?
Yeah, go ahead.
Wait.
All right. So we are the Benelux Speedrunner Gathering. We organize bi-monthly gatherings in the Benelux for speedrunners. We're streaming live from Alphen aan den Rijn in the Netherlands. There is also currently a donation incentive for Hellfire Chasm going on. It's 30 out of 150 euros, and which will be cut off at the end of the run. So get those donations in, guys. It is for a good charity and to see more content.
Okay, back. Still need to do the White Mage. Formation, Warrior, down 1. Equipment to the White Mage. Okay, formation changes. Warrior back to first, back to second, and then I think we're good to go, right?
Yeah. I mean, we can leave it for now.
Yeah, these menus are incredibly difficult to do 2-player, 1 controller, so they take a lot more coordinating between the two of us. Oh, first sell. Now we buy. Okay. So you can do the shopping earlier on in the run as well. There are a few points where you can pretty easily do that. We just chose this particular point. Not really a reason to go for 1 point over the other. It's technically slightly faster to do it earlier because you can potentially prevent an encounter from happening, but because we already got an encounter there anyway, it had virtually 0 effect. Remember how we said there was a treasure in the starting castle that we needed? We're gonna pick that up right now. Very soon we're gonna blow up the canal that we need to get our next piece of equipment, and boy, is it a piece of equipment. You want to talk about that, Indy?
Oh, you mean the Barbarian Sword?
I mean the Barbarian Sword.
Oh, the Barbarian Sword is great. The Barbarian Sword is I think, the strongest weapon in the entire game. And not only that, we're managing to equip that sword on all of our characters, even the ones who usually can't equip it. The sword you usually only get by defeating the super boss Chronodia in the additional bonus dungeon Labyrinth of Time in her strongest form, which is incredibly difficult. Not to mention that the dungeon itself is pretty hard. But yeah, we're speedrunners. We don't want to go into a bonus dungeon. We just want to glitch as the weapon that we need.
Yeah, speaking of bonus dungeons, there is still that incentive that that Thex mentioned. That'll be closed off at the end of this run. And there are some pretty cool bosses in there. They're Final Fantasy IV related. It's really awesome, so...
Oh, my body.
Yeah, you can say that again.
Oh, my body.
But yeah, why do we want that sword anyway? Why is it so good?
Well, because it's pretty damn good. It deals a lot of damage, and, well, we can one-shot most of the bosses.
Yeah, just for a reference, you may have heard of a sword called Excalibur. You know, it's pretty okay, right?
Well, it's decent.
It's decent.
It's
Yeah,
decent.
see, the Barbarian sword is about 3 times as powerful, and it grants you an additional strength boost of 15 per character. So, it's like nearly 4 times as strong as Excalibur.
Boom! Like Cappy Festival fireworks, yeah? Sorry, I gotta love that catchphrase. It's amazing.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
speaking about memes, hi ho, hi ho, hi ho, hi ho, hi ho. Yeah, sorry, I need to pull out the Disney memes before people get disappointed.
Yeah, no, that's understandable. Let's walk back out, though. Go back to our ship.
Yeah. Yeah, the Barbarian Sword menu is actually my favorite. Well, I don't think it's my favorite in this particular version of the run.
Yeah, no, in this run, it's a bit more difficult, sadly.
Yeah.
But not to fear, we're gonna make the best of it. That's for sure.
It's gonna be fine.
It's also one of the last menus that we do for quite some time.
Yeah. Also, we're going to focus for that menu, and afterwards I'm gonna tell you why the characters that we have are actually important for this run.
Oh yeah, we haven't even talked about that. We've been going for some time, but we haven't even mentioned why we take these specific classes.
Yeah, there's actually a very specific story. But now menu.
Okay, so here we go. This time it's a glove, so we're gonna go and try and put that on. Okay, re-equip.
Oh, wait.
Okay, out.
Come on. Come on.
Okay, out again. Formation. Yeah, this is still a frame perfect trick, so it can be tough at times. Okay, that's good.
Okay, yeah. Then that's also the right constellation.
Yeah, this works as well.
Yep. So yeah, we have 4 different characters, and each of them has a very specific purpose for this run. The White Mage, we obviously need to heal ourselves in the final boss fight. The Thief is going to be incredibly strong, especially with the Barbarian Sword. He's gonna deal a lot of damage, and is basically our main damage dealer, so we kind of want him for the later boss fights. The Warrior, however, is very important, since the Warrior itself, the Knight, and the Ninja are the only ones who can equip the Gauntlet, which...
Steel Glove.
Oh, the Steel Glove, which we can use in order to glitch the Barbarian Sword. And the Black Mage is there for 2 important spells.
Heal.
Oh.
Antidote. And potion. That's enough. Go on.
Yeah, the Black Mage is there for 2 important spells. One is called Teleport, which brings us back 1 floor to the exit, which we're going to use in one specific dungeon. And he's important for a spell called Haste. And Haste works a little bit different in this game. Instead of like increasing our speed, Haste increases our number of attacks. And
Essentially what it does is it doubles the amount of damage a person can deal in a single turn. And you can imagine that doubling our power is pretty good in this game.
And I imagine we're going to save.
Yep, of course. So this is the first of a couple of safety saves that we need to take. And it's mainly because this floor is the first one to have those cockatrices that we mentioned earlier. And since they can petrify you, they can really easily kill a run here if you get ambushed by them and you just get unlucky. It's pretty rare, but we'd rather play it safe in a marathon run like this.
Also, the first thing we encounter here are unrunnables. We are going to encounter most likely Pisco demons that we don't necessarily have to kill, but since they are unrunnable, we kind of have to in this point. And there are usually 2 ways we can kill those enemies, either by using a Judgment Staff or by using a Barbarian Sword. If there are more than 3 enemies, the Judgment Staff is generally faster. If there are less than 3, the Barbarian Sword is faster. And if we have exactly 3 of those unrunnable encounters, it doesn't really matter.
Don't hold X. Some of them are still on staffs. Okay, so this is where you'll really get to see how powerful the Barbarian Sword is.
Yes, nice.
So there's the attack, and that's the boss.
Bye, vampire. I call him John.
So now we would continue further into the cave, but we can't because there's a stone slab blocking our way, and the only way to get past, or to get the staff that opens it, is by passing a giant, which needs that ruby right there. That's why we have to go in here and then walk all the way back out.
So this would be the moment where we would use the emergency exit if we would have gotten it. But, I mean, we haven't tried. We can maybe do try it after the run. Although, probably, like, one player, one controller.
This is attack, and then staff from here. Unfortunately, this animation takes a while. That's the main downside of having to use this instead of able to attack.
But in this case, it would have been faster to use the Judgment Staff instead of just attacking. Although, yeah, 2-player, 1 controller, I'm not 100% sure about that.
No, but if we get other unrunnables now, we can just hold X and kill them using the staff instead. In any case, we're out of the most dangerous area of this cave and back into the regular part. I guess while we're here, we should probably mention why we need to be in this cave anyway.
Yes, because the world is being threatened by the 4 elemental fiends. The elemental of earth, Lich. The elemental of fire, Merilith. The elemental of water, Kraken. And the elemental of wind, Tiamat. And we are the 4 warriors of light. And our goal is it to destroy those threatening fiends and save the world from ending. So basically another wonderful end of the world, but now we actually have to prevent the end of the world. And in this cave is the first elemental fiend, and by the name you can probably judge it's the earth-themed Lich. This one we're going to kill, but first we need to get the earth rod, get it back into the cave, go deeper, and then defeat Lich, which is also the first boss fight that is actually really dangerous.
Yeah, it's one of those fights where if everything goes right, you're going to be wondering, why would this ever be dangerous? If it goes wrong, we're dead. There's really not much in between there. Yeah, this is that giant that we mentioned. We're going to give him the Star Ruby, and he's going to walk out of the cave, let us pass, because, you know, giants like rubies. Nothing's tastier than rubies. Double.
Also,
Turn my volume up a bit so that I can actually hear myself a bit better.
also this cutscene is so...
Yeah, it's such a slow cutscene, that's for sure.
Oh. And if you're running a category that is not
Indy,
all dungeons, sorry.
please help me actually run from
I'm
encounters.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I was going to say if you run a category that is not any percent, you actually see this giant cutscene twice, because in one of the bonus dungeons, the Whispering Cove, you have also a small fetch quest with a giant that is walking very slowly away.
Interestingly enough, in the original versions of the game, the giant would walk left into the wall. It's only starting the GBA version of the game that he actually moves up instead. Okay, so this is a bit of an unlucky one. Shadows can either ambush you or preemptive. There's never a normal shadow encounter. And it's about 80% for it to be preemptive and about 20% for it to be an ambush. In the PSX and the NES version, it was actually the other way around. But you're getting an ambush of those is pretty unlikely. So it's always pretty unlucky when you get that.
So while we're seeing those dead enemies, we could already mention that they can be as annoying as the cockatrices. They can't petrify us, but they can paralock us. So, meaning they attack one of our characters, that person gets paralyzed, and if all our characters get paralyzed, then it's pretty difficult to snap out of that battle.
Wait, are you talking shadows?
Well, undead enemies in general.
Yeah, but shadows don't do that.
Well, okay.
Shadows blind you instead. But most of the undeads, yeah, they paralyze you.
I mean, you get my point.
Yeah.
And here you see the disadvantage about ambushes.
We need to antidote. Yeah, this is where you really lose the time to having bigger ambushes. It just takes a lot of time, sadly.
I was about to say, you guys are struggling by running away from a Minotaur.
Gargoyles are a great example of one of those creatures that you can just get ambushed by 9 of them and sit there waiting forever until the encounter is finally over. Here we're gonna save again. Now we're gonna actually finish the dungeon for once. So yeah, thanks. If you have some more stuff to say, by all means.
Sure thing. We want to thank ESA for supporting the event and for allowing us to stream on their channel. You can consider using your free monthly Twitch Prime subscription right here on the ESA channel. You will get access to both the ESA and the BSG emotes, and you'll get to support both the events. We are raising money for the Dutch Cancer Society, which is a nationwide organization committed to fight cancer while aiming for more cure and a higher quality of life for those already battling the disease. All of your donations will go to the Dutch Cancer Society.
Ew, so this is one of those other encounters that can really mess you up sometimes.
Wouldn't staff?
No, run.
Okay.
Nobody got paralyzed.
Okay, fair enough.
Had like 2 people have gotten paralyzed there, we could have opted to just kill them with a judgment staff instead. There's actually 2 paths through this floor, and they're about equally fast. If we don't run in the first turn judgment staff. Wraiths are a pain to run from sometimes, so it's one of those encounters where it can really pay off to just staff them instead. Okay, we didn't have to, which means we took the better option here.
Right, final floor of this dungeon. We hope to not see the rare encounter here. I mean, even if we can just pretty easily kill it. We don't.
Okay,
So.
save. Let's hope he doesn't do anything nasty this time around. We'll see.
Oh.
Here we go. This is the Lich, the first major boss of the game, and one of the 4 elemental fiends. By the way, host, can you give me the time as we kill this boss?
Sure.
So that was the Lich, the elemental fiend of Earth.
36:42.
Oh, that's actually pretty good.
I think, yeah.
That's like average on a kind of mediocre run, but for 2-player, 1 controller, that's pretty good.
That's nice.
Like, I've gotten sub 130s with a 36 Lich before, so
Even before we getting this run sub my PB,
that would be something.
I would seriously gotta scream. And you can and you can spend your Easter weekend alone without me. I'm gonna go somewhere into the Caribbean. Or North Korea, I don't know, somewhere else.
I don't see that happening. With a 36, that's pretty hard, but this is also where we get to see the first of the 5 bonus dungeons unlocked. The Earth Gift Shrine, which is by far the most boring one of the bunch.
Yes. Because every time you defeat one of those elemental fiends, their respective bonus dungeon gets unlocked. In this case, it's the Earth Gift Shrine, in which are bosses from FF3. The problem about this one is, if you run, for example, the all bosses category, you have to beat all of the bosses in that bonus dungeon, which means you have to go in, defeat the first boss, you go in again, the second boss, and then another round, the third boss, and so on, until you have beaten all 4 of them, which is pretty annoying. Luckily, in terms of bonus dungeons, we decided to go with the more interesting one, which is the Hellfire Chasm, where we have 2 floors with 2 bosses in total we are going to fight.
10 floors. 2 bosses in total.
Okay. 10 floors, 2 bosses that we have to fight, 4 in total, but that one is it's going to be pretty hype.
Yeah, that's actually one of the more fun bonus dungeons. Like Indy mentioned it already, there are a couple of categories in this game. You've got any %, which is by far the more popular one, especially the PSP version, because it's a really easy run to learn. Like you can learn this in a day easily, even if you've never played the game before. Just because with as much equipment as you get through it very easily that way. Okay, one more try. Otherwise we staff. Yeah. Or actually sword.
Yeah.
Yeah, sword. Okay. So this is one of those painful encounters where for some reason it won't let you run and there's very little that you can do about it. But anyway, as I was saying, so you've got any %, which is the most run one, but one of the less interesting ones, if you ask me. Probably because I've just run it too often.
Yeah.
You've got any % glitchless, which is essentially the same thing, but then glitchless. You're not using the equipment glitches. It's basically the same as the GBA version of the game. You've got all bosses, which is beat every single boss in the game, which also means you have to do every single bonus dungeon. Some of them multiple times in order to actually beat every single boss. And then lastly, you have full bestiary, which means kill one of each encounter in the game, which is kind of like the 100% category of this run. It's about 11 hours, so it's a pretty lengthy category.
There's also another unofficial category that Kroll and me like to do from time to time, which is called All Dungeons. It's basically all bosses, but the difference is that in all of the bonus dungeons, we go only once. So we only beat one boss or one round through the dungeon, which is usually cooler, especially if you think about the Earth Gift Shrine, where you have to go 4 times in and a pretty long, big floor, which is super boring.
Essentially the same thing, but it just cuts out about an hour of redoing dungeons.
Yep.
is what makes it a little bit more interesting, especially for marathon settings and whatnot.
Okay. Time for another menu here.
Yeah, first, we're going to grab some ethers. We should probably potion the warrior once, by the way. We're also going to grab an axe here, and we're going to try and equip a few people with that. So first and foremost, start here. Equipping black garbs. Okay, back. Formation. Yep, just like that. Equipment. We're going to leave the formation this way. Have the thief take the hits. That's okay. Okay, one potion on warrior. Back out. So yeah, the black garb is... Oh, whoops, sorry, that's on me. The black garb makes it even easier to run. Basically, running is determined by a handful of stats in this game, one of which is your evasion. The black garb grants you plus 10 evasion for every single one that you have equipped. So we can get an additional 30 evasion. The Thieves' Armlets that we had before gave plus 5 each. So essentially we got an additional 15 evasion compared to our previous equipment on both our Thief and our White Mage. Now unfortunately, equipping a lot of those takes quite a lot of time. So you tend to usually not go for it and rather only equip it on like 2 characters so that you have that little bit of extra running ability there.
Also, Kroll just mentioned that our thief is going to take the hits. The reason for that is the position of the character actually... the chance of getting hit depends on the position of the character. The first character is always a 50% chance of getting hit. The second character at 25%, and for the third and fourth character, it's always 12.5% to, well, getting targeted by the enemy.
Yeah, so if you'll see the first 2 characters getting targeted significant, or it seems like they're targeting more than the lower characters, that's actually because of their positioning. They kind of did that because, you know, normally you're going to have a set of both physical attackers and mages. You want your mages in the back row, and in later Final Fantasies they actually had a front and a back row, but in this one they didn't have that yet, so they solved it that way. I think it's pretty clever.
Yeah, that's still a pretty good idea. And now we're going to run through the world with the thief.
Yeah, so he can take some hits, as he should.
Fair enough. Okay. Yeah, we're going to save here again, because the Cavern of Ice is...
by far the most dangerous dungeon in the game.
We have so many things that can kill us. We have so many enemies who can paralock us. We have cockatrices. We have mind flayers and dark wizards.
Yeah, just all sorts of nasty stuff in this dungeon.
Oh, and probably the most...
Staff after this.
Yeah. Probably the most difficult thing I already forgot. Almost. The white dragons. You can, at least in later, you can run away from them, but they can definitely very much easily kill you.
Yeah, one hit and you're just dead. It's a 1 in 64 encounter, making it the rarest encounter in this dungeon, but you can see them and they can just one-shot the entire party, no problem. The reason that there's this sudden spike in difficulty is actually because we're sequence breaking a little bit. We're supposed to now go to the fire dungeon, Mount Gulg, and get the second crystal. But instead of doing that, we're going to just go around the world map and get a bunch of other stuff first. So we're going to get the airship, we're going to get the rat's tail for class changes, we're going to get a bunch of spells. And only after all of that is done, we're going to go get the next crystal. In a very old route of this run, and I mean like 3+ years ago, we used to actually do the fire dungeon last. So we had all of the other dungeons done, and then at the very end we would come back for it. Yeah, staff. And, yeah. But we later on figured out that the overworld movement is actually slower by doing that. So we changed stuff up to the point where we actually do it as it's intended, as the second crystal. But we still do it later than the dungeons that we're doing now, even though these are supposed to be later. we're about to come up on another spiked tile in a moment. This time one with undead enemies. So we're gonna save beforehand. So this is the spiked tile. We
Okay,
got a
nice.
preemptive, very nice.
Nice.
We do want to heal still before the
Before the grinding, yeah.
for the grind, yes. As we're actually going to be going into the only grinding... we need to kill that. The only grinding sequence in this entire run. And you might be thinking to yourself, oh, okay, so it's an RPG, there's grinding. You know, that's boring.
It's actually pretty fast.
Indy,
Oh. Sorry.
that's your job.
Sorry.
But you see, the grinding in this run only takes about a minute and a half. As we use a spiked tile. Okay, heal those two and then save. Use a spike tile, guaranteeing us the encounter every other step. And then it yields a huge amount of experience. But we're also going to kill off the thief and the warrior here. We're going to defend. Oh, defend. There we go for Thundara. Have the white mage attack. And there we go. That's how we finish up the fight.
Oh, we're
heal.
going to heal, yeah.
You also pick up the Levy Stone here. That's the stone that we need in order to get the airship later on. Here we go. Let's do some more grinding. Just hold X
Okay.
from here.
Okay.
And our aim is to get to level 18 and then fight one more once we're at level 18. That was level 14. So let's see how things go.
By the way, Thex, how is the incentive looking?
It's not looking too great, so we really need that support of donations to get that Hellfire Chasm to work out.
What are we at right now?
We are currently at, let me refresh it real quick, 30 out of 150.
That's...
Yeah, that's
Well,
big oof right there.
So, for everyone in the BSG community, and all of the people watching us in...
You know what I just realized?
What?
That they're putting the money to something as silly as a name, and then you know, especially Frosty, and not having the dungeon.
Someone get me Frosty, please.
Let's check the level real quick. Okay, one more fight.
Yeah.
So this is actually the level we want to be at, and we want to be that because of certain specific spells that we need to get later on. Okay, let's heal up. Mix downs. Don't worry about it, Double.
That's fine.
It's a joke. Okay, save. And now we're going to head out of this dungeon. We're done now with the hardest part in the sense that we're done with grinding. We have the levels that we need, essentially. From here, it should get a lot easier. We also have some added survivability now, because we actually have some levels instead of being level 11 still. So survive, like, if we encounter a white dragon, we actually have a chance to survive.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I was going to say that people, you definitely want to see this bonus dungeon, because it will be also 2-player 1 controller, and it's for a great cause. So I see a lot of reasons to make us suffer even more.
Okay, so in any case, we're going to go down the canal, and it's onto the Ryukan Desert, where we're going to get the airship. Your good old Final Fantasy staple airship.
Yep. Hidden beneath a desert. Like always.
Yeah, from there we're going to fly to a different desert, and that desert can be potentially deadly as well.
Because I remember when we're going back to talking about like the end of the world, there's something that can be very dangerous. It's called an earthquake. And in that desert, there's an enemy called Sandworm, which already killed multiple of runs.
Yeah, interestingly enough, it seems to have a knack out for like the last phases of the Final Fantasy tournament. It's one of the rarest deaths in this game. I think I've seen it happen 3 times in total, but now, and I've been running this game for 3.5 years or something. Once was during some testing we did, so you know it's okay. Once was during the semifinals of the 2017 Final Fantasy tournament. No, 2016 Final Fantasy tournament. And then once was during the finals of the 2018 Final Fantasy tournament. So it definitely seems to have a knack out for, you know, screwing people over during the semifinals or finals of a tournament. Oh, that's on me. So we're just going to play it safe, and we're going to actually make a safety save here. We have the time for that. Now, the next dungeon we're going to do is actually completely optional. We can just decide to not do it, and we used to not do it. But there is one particular item in there.
Okay.
Let's kill it. This is that encounter, like, oh, sorry. He could have earthquaked, and that is exactly what we're talking about, basically.
Yeah. And it was an ambush, so he could have very well
he
done
could have
that.
actually killed us there.
The interesting thing about the earthquake, though, is that it's not like an elemental move. It's an instant death move. So at this point, we have no chance to survive that. Later on, we might well.
Yeah, later on we'll actually get some items to help us with that, but we'll have to wait a little bit longer. In any case, as I was saying, there's one item in this next dungeon that is so ridiculously powerful that it's worth it for us to go all the way out of our way. In fact, because of what's in this dungeon, we can actually cut down the grinding from about 8 minutes to about 1.5 minutes. And that's about where we save all of that time back instantly. So we used to not do it, and then we used to grind the white mage to level 33. But then we figured out that we could use this and could only, you know, we could do with just grinding to level 19 instead. That was rather convenient.
Because the thing about magic, if you are able to learn a magic spell, depends on your level. So back in the days, level 33 on a white mage was the level you needed to learn the spell Hilaga. And now we just need level 18 to learn Hilara, which is way better. And with the items we are going to find in this dungeon, we still heal as much as with Hilaga.
Essentially just a buff of our healing to the point that it would, you know, that it is the equivalent of being even better. Like being just a level higher spell. So the nightmares here are runnable, but we don't really have the equipment to run from them properly yet. Here it is, the healing staff. That is the most important. Okay, we can run. That is the most important item for us to get in this dungeon. Not so much because the healing staff itself is that strong, but rather it glitches into the lordly robes, which is the best healing item possible.
Yeah.
As every single one equipped will buff our intelligence by 20. Here's the dungeon item, the Rat's Tail, which will allow us to upgrade class.
And apparently a rat's tail is a sign of courage and power.
After the fight, I want to check the level real quick.
Yeah.
Sure
You
that
got
we
some
have-
time for a donation?
Yeah,
Yeah,
go
sure.
ahead.
Actually, not only one, but 2 donations. One from Recold for €5 saying, fine,
you,
I'll
and you.
rally up.
And you.
Oh.
Let's get that hellfire going. And then we got one from Cold X Sam for €5 as well, saying, guess every bit will help, eh? Well, you're definitely right there. We are now 40 out of 150. Let's keep it up, guys.
Thank you very much. It's gonna be a blast. It's gonna be amazing.
Okay, so in a moment we're going to save again as we're about to enter the desert. This is once again just to make sure that we don't get earthquaked to death, because it's still very possible. These are safety saves. In races, you don't normally take them unless you're significantly ahead, because of how rare these deaths are, but I really don't want to have them happen in a marathon run like this.
Yeah, let's not.
We have a 15 anonymous donation also that was put towards that incentive. So
Oh, we're,
less than 100 to go now, guys.
we're picking up steam. That's all
Nice.
right.
That's pretty good.
Okay, so next up is our class change. See, the Rat's Tail, like we said, it allows us to change classes. Our warrior will become a knight, our thief will become a ninja, and our mages will become wizards. And that allows us more spells, better equipment, better stats, just better everything.
And we have a special meeting with one of the most iconic Final Fantasy summons in history. It's Shinryu. Oh, no, wait. It's Bahamut. Yay! Can we get some hype for Bahamut?
Very little hype behind us, but good enough, I guess.
Well, because it was only Bahamut. Bahamut is okay, though.
Bahamut is cool.
Yeah,
though.
Bahamut's cool. Except for the one time he destroys Alexandria and Final Fantasy IX, but that's another story.
Right.
Yep.
So now we just need to get a couple spells, and then we're all set for the next dungeon, where we're finally going to get ourselves that second crystal, the Crystal of Fire.
And if you guys are interested in seeing the bonus dungeon, well, you also should donate. And you should check out the next dungeon, because...
We're actually
They-
going to... It's
there's
right
something.
there. We just flew over it. If you blinked it, you missed it, but...
Yeah.
Just flew over the dungeon, but we're going to briefly see it in the cutscene as we finish the next dungeon. So, a quick sneak peek, so to speak. The Hilaga, teleport.
Now we're going back to Alfheim, getting haste.
You can actually opt to not get gold needles, and if something got petrified, get them here. The problem is your mages still need to have grinded, so if one of your mages got petrified, you're just kind of screwed over. Not much you can do at that point, except lose a whole lot of time.
And you also can't buy gold needles at every store. I think Alfheim and maybe Quizman like.
Either White Mage and then Halara. Lord. Oh, sorry, that's on me. Okay. Back, Magic, Halara. So this is just to get our health up, because we're going to do something very special.
Huh? Can I?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah. Welcome to the best thing in this game, lava boosting. As you can see, we're trying to work on those lava tiles as much as possible. We are getting damage, but every time you walk on a
Kill this, kill this.
every time we walk on a lava tile, we don't get any encounters. So walking on lava, you get damage, but no encounters, which is essentially what we want to do, especially since we can heal ourselves up. But lava boosting is so much fun in this game, and it's actually something we're gonna see in the bonus dungeon as well. So
Yeah, Hellfire has a ton of lava boosting. So in true BSG spirit, it should be a thing, but we'll see.
You
In
know
any
another
case,
fun thing?
you-
€5 from Double Double, saying keep the donation train going, guys. Together we can do the most amazing things.
thank you very much. Speaking about train, if you play all dungeons, all bosses in the Whisperwind Cove, is actually a train boss. I call it Doom Train, Death Train,
Phantom
Train.
And it's a really difficult boss,
Yeah.
actually. It's one of the most difficult bosses in this in the run.
Oh, fire elementals. Right.
Heal, then boss. Okay, let's go. So this is the second elemental fiend of the game, and this is where we're gonna get the second of our crystals. This is the fire fiend, Aerolith.
And if you can give us the time after that boss, that would be great.
Sure thing. Are you hoping for sub 1 hour?
Yeah, that would be generally good. And that's the boss.
It's 1 hour and 30 seconds.
Oh,
That's not too bad.
That's still
No,
okay.
that's fine. I mean, we have set our estimate a little bit higher on purpose.
So normally we go with either a 138 or a 140 estimate, but obviously 2-player, 1 controller is a bit more difficult, especially with menus, so we set a 145 estimate instead. just to give us a little bit of extra leeway there. Generally, this is about the time that we would pick up the Rosetta Stone, which we'll be doing in about 4 to 5 minutes. If you're aiming for a sub 1:30 time, that is. So, oh, this is, by the way, the entrance of Hellfire Chasm. So yeah, we're about like 1:37-ish pace, I think.
Yeah, that should be good.
Yeah, that's pretty okay. You might be wondering, you know, we were already an hour in and we only got 2 of the crystals so far. But from here on, things are going to actually pick up quite quickly. But first, we're going to make a stop at yet another desert here.
Oh.
And that's to pick up a bottled fairy as well as some Giant's tonics. The caravan, here we go. 40,000 gil, which you actually need. You cannot finish the game without those 40,000 gil. So a no shopping run is virtually impossible because you actually have to buy that thing in order to progress the game. But once you have the bottled fairy, we can go over to the town of Gaia over here, where it'll immediately be released, and we can use that to get the Oxyale. In the earlier versions of the game, both PSX and NES, you actually have to go into the menu and release the fairy manually.
Fun times.
Yeah, I can imagine that's actually pretty difficult to figure out.
Yeah. I mean, especially if the game doesn't tell you where to go and where to use it.
It does. There's some NPC that tells you, I believe.
Well, yes, some NPCs at the end of the world, probably, but... I mean, that's basically how the game works.
That is essentially how this works.
There are enemies who are going to tell you what you have to do, but they are on a completely different way. Yeah.
The Oxyale will allow us to breathe underwater and thus give us entrance to the water dungeon. So it's as fast normally to walk out as it is to teleport out, but teleport actually sets up the menu for something that we have to do in a moment. Therefore, it's faster to teleport rather than walking out. So on to the Sunken Shrine, which is where the third of the crystals is at. This is still, we're actually doing all the crystals in order. We could get the wind crystal before the air crystal, or the water crystal, but there's an item that we need in order to enter that dungeon that we have to get in the water dungeon. So we're already in the dungeon anyway.
Go to Honorak.
I'm gonna talk about the mermaids here.
Oh, the mermaids are great.
Yeah, they're in trouble though. So this ghost of a mermaid actually asks us for help.
Also, this is the real run killer in this game. The Barrel of Doom. Because the barrel asks you, do you want to enter me? And the default answer is no.
So this dungeon has probably the most different unrunnables in any dungeon of the game. There's 3 encounters you can't run from: the ghosts, water elementals, which coincidentally you can run from if they're tied to a water naga, and the Sahakan Prince in Chief. We're probably going to see all of them over the course of this. I'd be surprised if we didn't. It's also the dungeon with the best theme in the game, IMO.
Yeah. I think my favorite is Flying Fortress, which we're also going to see soon.
I don't like Flying Fortress that much.
I don't know, Flying Fortress somehow reminds me of Pokemon Mystery Dungeon.
Okay, yeah, I can understand that. So this floor is actually the best floor. It doesn't have any encounters. And there's a ton of treasures as well that we're not going to pick up.
Can we not take this floor and move it to the rest of the game?
That'd be pretty great, honestly.
Aww.
So this is the Rosetta Stone. It'll allow us to learn any language instantly. And this is where we use teleport twice to go back 2 floors. that just saves us having to backtrack, and this is pretty much the only reason why we use a black mage, just so that we can do that. We do that there, and we do it in one other place, and that combined, I think it saves about 4 minutes. And you don't save 4 minutes by, or just on the damage that he would otherwise deal, especially because he's also our caster for haste. So the replacement, the red mage, wouldn't be beneficial compared to it either. Antidotes.
Nope.
Oh, sorry. There. Now there is probably the longest and most difficult menu in the game coming up in a moment. Definitely the one where we're going to need to focus the most, and throughout that text you're going to get some time to read out some stuff.
Sure.
First though, we have to kill these things, and we're only attacking with the mages here, mainly because the mages are actually guaranteed to kill the Sahagan Prince, which the Thief and Warrior are not. So this is the example of the water elemental, which is not runnable except when it's with a water naga. Then you can run just fine.
Okay, time for the menu. Actually, something interesting about the chest we're going to open up. If you enter the chest from the right, you don't get any encounters. But if you do it from the left or from in front, then you always get an encounter because there's a spike down.
It's another example where knowing where spiked tiles are can actually help us save time, even though we have to move more tiles. Next few items we're getting are mainly for more intelligence and even better ability to run, as they will upgrade our chances to run from a +5 on evasion to a +15 on evasion each. Okay, here we go. Next, go ahead.
All right. Since some of you don't know yet, we are actually the Benelux Speedrunner Gathering. We organize bi-monthly gatherings in the Benelux for speedrunners. We are streaming live from Alphen aan de Rijn in the Netherlands. We also want to thank ESA for supporting the event and for allowing us to stream on their channel. And by that, you can also consider using your free monthly Twitch Prime subscription right here on the ESA channel. You will get access to both the ESA and the BSG emotes, and you'll get to support both the events. Now, let's not forget about our important donation incentive here. There is only about 30 minutes left, give or take, before it will actually be cut off. It's gonna be a bonus dungeon, Hellfire Chasm. So let's try to get there, guys. We are only 90 euros away. Let's get this going.
Okay, that's the menu done. Just upgraded everybody's ability to run, in some cases very significantly, with the exception of the white mage, who's actually, well, her evasion dropped, but her chances to run actually increased because intelligence.
Oh, sound glitch.
Oh yeah, that's a very common sound glitch, by the way. But her intelligence actually counts to her running chances as well. Therefore, her running chances actually went up more than that of the other characters. But as a result, she is the last one to go in any given turn, making it a little bit less viable, even though it's technically a better item than the survival vest for that particular purpose. Additionally, you may have noticed that sound glitches even. Wow. Additionally, you may have noticed that a survival vest had been equipped on her armor. That's because otherwise we'd be dealing with regen animations every time we don't we haven't run by the end of a turn, and that's like about half a second each time.
Another sound glitch?
Yeah, this sometimes happens in the run, where the sound glitches out. There's actually a glitch that we still don't know how to trigger it, but we have seen a few instances of it where it glitches out completely, and it actually skips the jingles of picking up items and whatnot as well, which if we were to be able to trigger it, would actually be able to save about 15 to 20 seconds over the course of the run, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe even more, but there is no consistent way of actually triggering it, and we've only seen like a handful of runs where it happened, as it's really uncommon.
Also, this is Kraken, our third boss. So if we can get another timestamp after this,
Yep.
which is now.
1:11:20.
That's not bad.
That's not bad.
Not bad at all. I think my average is about a 1:07, so... And my average time is like a 1:29, so... That's pretty okay.
I mean, like we already said, it's already hard to coordinate two of your hands on the PSP console, but if you have to coordinate one of your hand with two different people, that's a whole new story.
Yeah, coordinating with multiple controls and people, and it can be tricky, but that's also why we set up the menus in such a way that most of the glitching is done by Indy, just so that we don't have to do things simultaneously.
Yeah.
We did that for the first menu. We actually have practiced it a bit, but
Like
it
twice.
is yeah, but it is so difficult to do the same input on the same frame. It's just really difficult to do. So we try to prevent having to do that as much as possible.
Now we are about to go into the worst dungeon ever.
Save at the start. This is the dungeon with the highest encounter rate of the game. And coincidentally, there's actually a cheat code that some people have, or that somebody has once tried to use to fake a world record, which would lower the encounter rate. The thing is, because of how high this encounter rate is in this dungeon, it wouldn't be affected in this dungeon. And we actually noticed that the encounter rate was low everywhere for whatever reason, except for this dungeon. And then when trying out that cheat code, we ended up finding the exact same, which is how we figured out that somebody had cheated a run back in the day. This is years ago, by the way. Haven't been super involved in the community lately.
Nah.
But I used to be a super active runner. Both of us used to be very active runners years ago. So it's fun to revisit sometime.
This is also another spike tail here.
Yeah, and it's really unlucky to get an ambush. All of these guys can give status effects. Cockatrices can petrify, Pyralisks can one-shot, mummies can put you to sleep.
Run.
None of those happened on turn 1, which...
Nice.
Very good. That's the ribbon. That's the last item we're going to... or at least one of the last items we're going to pick up. I think it's the last one.
Yeah.
And it's an item... Well, we'll explain after the menu. As this is actually... Oh, sorry. Equipment. There. Okay. Yeah. To the right. No.
Oh.
There. Okay. Formation. No. Well, let's move that over there.
Oh.
Go to the right. Okay, and formation one more time. Okay, equipment. Oh, sorry, magic. Teleport out. Yeah. Okay, you want to talk about what the effect of the ribbon is there?
Yeah, the ribbon has two effects. First of all, we getting only 50% damage from all magical attacks. So
elemental attacks.
Elemental attacks. So fire, ice, and all those likes, which are actually pretty important for the final boss fight. And another effect that ribbon has, we are immune to all status effects, including instant death, which also gives us a pretty high advantage of dealing with enemies.
Yeah, the only exception is Mind Flayers, who can still one-shot you because their attack counts as a physical attack, therefore is not affected by the ribbon in any way. Additionally, we can actually equip it on the shield slot, and it's the first piece of equipment that we've been able to equip on shields. The reason for that is that most pieces of equipment will hardlock the game as it tries to call up the shield animation, because, you know, there's no animations for most of the other armor pieces, because they're not supposed to be on a shield. The ribbon actually does have an animation tied into it, and therefore it can still work. There's only a handful of items that works with. The Lordly Robe is another one.
So, what we now just did, we went, well, luckily the last time, to Melmond and learned Luthenian. And now we're going to Luthenia, and in that town, we're getting the Chime. Combined with the Warp Cube we got from the robot in the Waterfall Cave, we're able to access the Mirage Tower and the Flying Fortress, the last dungeon of the dungeon where the last elemental fiend is, Tiamat.
And now this is going to be quite a long walk, as even though, like, we flew over Luthenia on the way here, but the airship can only land in plain tiles. So we have to walk all the way from the corner up there to Luthenia, because there's just no plain tiles anywhere around Luthenia. Also, this town is NPC hell, by the way.
Good news, guys.
Good tell.
90 euro donation by
Nice.
Scarlight.
Nice!
Oh, wow.
Saying, I love what you guys are doing, and I hope you keep it up with the fun streams. Thank you so much. That donation got met. The incentive got met, which it will open up 2 more incentives. They will come up right up, which is boss choices. We can talk about that more if you want.
Oh my god.
Go ahead, Indy.
Poke champ. Well, we already told you that we have to fight 2 bosses on our way through that dungeon. And on the 5th and 10th floor, we have the choice between which boss we're going to fight. On the 5th floor, we have the choice between Scamiglione, oh my body, and Cagnazzo. And on the 10th floor, we have the choice between Rubicante, Mr. Legendary, and Barbaricia. And now, since you guys donated all so generous for the incentive, thank you very much for that, you now have the chance to bid for which boss we're going to fight. On the 5th floor, the choice is between Scamiglione and Cagnazzo, and on the 10th floor, and on the 10th floor, the choice is between Barbaricia and Rubicante.
Yeah, and just for reference here, the Scarmiglione is the Elemental Fiend of Earth from Final Fantasy IV. Cagnazzo, the Elemental Fiend of Water from Final Fantasy IV. Barbaricia, the Elemental Fiend of the Wind. And Rubicante of Fire, all from Final Fantasy IV. That's one of the cool things they did with the bonus dungeons. They actually have bosses from other Final Fantasy games.
Including music.
Including their music, which is actually a PSP exclusive, because though the bosses were in the GBA version as well, there it would just use the regular boss theme. But before we can actually do that, we're first gonna have to work our way up the Mirage Tower, from where we can teleport into the Flying Fortress and fight fight the boss Tiamat.
And this is the worst dungeon of the entire floor. The worst floor of the entire dungeon.
Yeah, by far. This dungeon is like second worst, only second to Waterfall Cave from before. Like these are dungeons with really high encounter rates, although Flying Fortress itself actually isn't that bad.
Yeah.
The advantage of this is that there's only one unrunnable, which is the rarest encounter here, a 1 in 64 blue dragon.
Just a quick update that the incentives are now live. You can see them on screen as well. Start donating, guys. Choose the bosses.
On an added note there, the vampire is actually still flagged as unrunnable, but only if there is specifically one of there, which isn't the case, and therefore it's fine. But the flag is still there, so if you were to encounter one with just the one, you would actually not be able to run, even though that's impossible.
So that blue dragon we just encountered was a Spytel and an unrunnable. On this floor we can encounter another unrunnable, which is the Evil Eye, which we already defeated before, so it shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, he might come back to try and avenge his brothers or something.
He's definitely going to... He's still throw an eye on us. But there's one enemy in this dungeon which is runnable, but super dangerous. So guys, chat, please get hyped. Please wish us luck. I think if there would be a run who deserved to get that encounter, then it's definitely this one, because there's a very rare encounter called the Warmag. Not only is he super dangerous, he gives a crap ton of XP and is like one of the most hyped things that can happen in a run.
Yeah, it's a 1 in 64 encounter, and it's actually faster to get it and kill it because it gives 30,000 or 32,000 experience and gold if you kill it, which is the equivalent of 8,000 experience per character, or about 2 to 3 levels.
Yeah. Looking at the Black Mage HP, that wouldn't be that bad. So this is the floor we're going to save.
Yep. Also heal first. We actually save for specifically that purpose, because those things can be so deadly.
Come on, come on, come on. Aww. There's still a chance, but I've never seen a Womack in a regular run.
I have once had it here in this dungeon without looking for it in full bestiary.
Yeah.
That's the only time I've gotten it here, I think. But yeah, either way, this is the Elemental Fiend of Wind, the Tiamat.
And I think after that was another timestamp, and then we're going to the final dungeon.
Yep. Basically, after this boss, it's approximately 15 minutes left, give or take.
And that's Tiamat.
122.50.
Okay.
Ooh, sounds like sub 140. That's not bad.
Yeah, no, we should still be able to sub 140. Like I said, from this point on, it's roughly 15 minutes. Depends a bit on the luck, because the final dungeon can do a lot of strange things. But still pretty darn good, honestly. I'm pretty happy with that. So we see my second favorite dungeon of the game unlocked here in Whisperwind Cove. It's 40 floors. It's got a ton of bosses from Final Fantasy VI. It's a really cool dungeon. But we're not going to be visiting that today, unfortunately.
And even if we would, we wouldn't be able to suplex the train.
Yeah, this is also true. You can't suplex the train, sadly. But it's a pretty lengthy dungeon as well, so...
So, one last chance for Womack. Aww.
No Wormex today. Now we're going to head into a dungeon that you may have seen before, if you've been around since the start of this run. As we're about to enter the first dungeon of the game.
But why? Why are we going to reset Cruel?
I don't know. Run time wasn't good enough.
Are we gonna do this all night until we get 130?
Well, let's just go to where Garland was and see if we can do something there.
Okay.
Also, there's this strange guy who now opens up the Labyrinth of Time, which, by the way, is my favorite dungeon. It's super difficult. Most runners hate it, but it's such a fun dungeon to do once you get good at it.
Yeah.
It's really one of those execution-heavy dungeons.
Oh no, I spoke to the crystal ball.
Well, let's just see something about the crystals.
What's happening?
I think we're going to time travel.
Oh, you guys know when we are going to time travel, things are going down.
Okay, so yeah, now we're going to travel 2,000 years into the past. We're also going to make a safety save. We're actually going to make it on a different slot. No. That's my lobby save. That would have been my lobby save.
Well,
I have it twice on there. Don't worry. I would have been fine still, but... Run.
Oh.
Just run.
All right, yeah. I forget. There are a ton of dragons in this dungeon. The white dragons are the only ones who can run away from, but they can also very much kill you.
We just saved, so we're just going to try to run. Okay, this is pretty unlucky. They're actually not that hard to run from.
We have double dragons. Thank you.
Okay, there we go.
In this entire dungeon, there are so many... Oh my god. So many things we can't run away from.
Interestingly enough, the dungeon only starts to become more difficult sorry, the dungeon is actually more difficult in the early floors than it is in the later floors. Heal. Oh, sorry. We'll figure that out later. We actually, like the white dragons, there's green dragons on this floor. There's some other really annoying things.
There are things. We don't have to name them, okay,
Right,
Cruel?
right. But they're actually, like, they can actually be dangerous if you're not careful. And then once we enter the basement floors, which is where the refights are with the elemental fiends, that's actually where the difficulty goes down a bit, and the fights are actually easier.
Oh my god.
It's 2 of them. I've seen worse.
But this was like the... I'm speechless.
Nah, this was actually pretty alright.
Yeah.
So this is Death Eye. He's basically a weaker version of Evil Eye. He actually has less health, I think, but he has such high defenses that normally you can't break through it. But overpowered sword that adds a strength boost and whatnot.
Also, do you remember when at the start of the run I said we got this item from the princess, which we need very, very, very late into the run? Yeah, that was the item. And
Yeah,
with
so it's only there to open up that stone slab there.
those are dragon zombies.
They actually have a rare drop, the Mega Elixir, which would be kind of helpful to get.
I mean, with 3 of them, it should be possible. Oh.
Nope, didn't get it. It's pretty uncommon to actually get it, but this is runnable.
Yeah.
The dragon zombies are only runnable if there is a vampire lord with them, which is actually pretty rare.
We got a €4 anonymous donation, by the way. So currently, Scarmiglione and Rubicante are in the lead.
Nice.
Sounds good. Scarmiglione is definitely the better boss, to be honest.
Yeah, although he is slower.
He is slower, this is true. Same goes for Rubicante, actually.
By the way, this purple worm has also a red drop, which is the emergency exit, which, I mean, it would be great to get it, but we don't really can use it at this point anymore.
So now we're in the bottom floors. From here on out, the enemies actually become a little bit easier. We will do a quick heal before this next boss fight, however.
Yeah. Because as deadly as Lich 1 was, as deadly Lich 2 is.
Yeah, it's really only deadly if you don't come in prepared. But it has it can cast Flare, and that's just very powerful. Safe.
No, the other one.
No, this is fine.
Okay.
I wanted it there so that we don't... okay, go back. So that we don't have to teleport out of this dungeon
Yeah,
later.
fair enough. So please die fast. Yep. Ooh.
So this is his most powerful attack. This is why he's deadly.
Yep. But now he's dead. And luckily, he's the only real threat of those elemental fiends.
Yeah, this, by the way, is a spiked tile. Like, you can fight him more than once if you want to. But he yields virtually no experience, so it's not really worth it. So B2, this is where Merilith is going to be at.
And luckily for us, all of the encounters on this floor, except for the fire elementals, are runnable.
Yeah, although fire dragons you generally don't run from either, because they can actually still be dangerous.
Okay.
But yeah, that is right. You can technically run from them.
Also, our ninja is on a very good HP base.
We'll let him get worn down throughout the last bit of the dungeon, and we'll just not use any tonics on him. And yes, for the record, we are trying to kill him. We'll use a Giant's Tonic on the Black Mage and the White Mage.
Okay.
Final fight. Because 342 is rather low. And then we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, this is also one of the most annoying floors on this dungeon. And there are three more floors and 3 more bosses. Kraken and Tiamat, obviously.
And the final boss, Chaos.
Yeah.
There is a little thingy to Chaos, but you'll see in a moment once we get there. We may have seen him before. Now, the main thing that's annoying about this particular dungeon, or this particular floor rather, is the water elementals. There are also Sahagan Sahagan Princess, but because they're tied with sharks this time, you can actually run from them, which wasn't the case in the Sunken Shrine. So the only unrunnable thing is actually the water elementals.
Yeah.
Now, it can happen that you get this floor encounterless. It's happened twice to me. Once during a BSG, actually. That was pretty hype. That was the first time that ever happened. But it's not very common. Here's the Kraken. Just potion the characters that got weakened just for the final fight. We have enough potions.
Okay.
Leave the warrior a bit weakened. Or, sorry, the thief, I mean.
Cool. Will do.
What we're planning here, by the way, is not something you would ever do in a run. You would never kill off your thief during the final boss intentionally, because it's incredibly slow to do so. But we have our reasons. Frosty will know. I don't know if Frosty is still watching, but Frosty will know.
Who is Frosty?
Right.
I don't know if Frosty. Well, at least this time I can really complain if I...
the strat is a bit different here. We actually use... Oh, sorry. We actually use haste on our thief here. It's the fastest. This basically guarantees a 2-turn fight rather than it taking 3 turns, which is pretty common if you do not do that. Oh, no. Oh, sorry. There we go. This is hard.
Yep. Oh.
Yeah, that's Tiamat, and now we're gonna go into the last floor.
And the last menu.
And the last menu, and then save, and then final boss.
Exactly. And
time will be on the white flash after the final boss, which is it usually takes about 3 minutes after the fight has started. We'll see if it still takes about 3 minutes. So let's start with ethers.
Potions?
Potions. Okay, equipment. No.
Formation?
Formation, yeah. That one goes down. Equipment. Go to the right. This is to get the golden staff, and we remove the survival vest. Okay, formation. We remove the survival vest because we want to ensure that we're slower than Chaos, so that the heal will always go off after he's actually attacked.
Right.
So this is Garland, the first boss of the game.
At the final boss of the game?
Because now we see him in his true form 2,000 years into the past, before he has the chance to send the 4 fiends to the future to cause the destruction of the world, essentially.
Also, yeah, sorry, guys, in chat and in the audience, make some hype, because that is the most epic battle that you will see in this game. The final boss fight, Chaos.
So we start off with some giant tonics here. We're going to use one for the black mage, and we're going to use one for the white mage. Depending on the health, you would usually use it on the thief instead. But for this particular case, this will just work out better. We're also going to cast Halara with our White Mage to ensure we have enough healing. And we cast Haste to double our attack. Here we go. He's got 20,000 HP. Let's see how long it'll take us to get him down.
Now we're switching to attack.
See, this is why I figured that would be smart.
Yep.
I'm glad we did
Yep,
that.
yep. Attack?
No, just magic. One more time. We should haste this.
Good. Seems to be on a good cycle
Yeah.
though.
Is this going to be a fast fight at least?
Zaga.
Okay, so, get ready on time.
Yep. So technically, Cruel, you can release the console because from now on,
this is where I don't need to do anything anymore. Directional keys are not needed. Here we go. It's time for the final stretch. It'll be sudden, by the way. Time.
Yeah. Tsunami is okay. Deals some damage, but maybe someone will die.
It's close though. If he does Cyclone, we may get the kill on the ninja.
Yeah.
It's gonna be close though. We had 2 good HP rolls, honestly.
Yeah. Come on, Cyclone.
Come on.
Come on.
Kill,
Come on.
kill
Come on.
him,
Come
kill
on.
him.
Kill him. Come on. Do something else. I love you, please. I don't have any wishes. Just do it. Oh!
So close. Time.
Time.
So close.
Damn it.
So close.
Damn it.
He was brought to his knees at least.
You will pay for this. Okay, so what was the final time?
Do tell.
1:38:12.
Oh,
That's
pretty
not
good.
bad. Nice.
That is still better. Like, that was worse than my solo player estimate, but better than our usual solo player estimate, essentially.
I'm getting a little bit emotional because this is a really shame. This 2-player 1 controller run was faster than my ESA solo run 2 years ago.
It's okay, Andy. It's okay.
And you know what? I'm gonna blame him for that.
Okay, shall we do a bonus dungeon?
Oh yeah.
Where we can lava boost set ninja to death still. We're not done yet. Okay, let's do this.
Sorry. Just a little bit too exciting.
Sorry,
10 minutes.
No, make it 15.
Okay, 15.
It's 2-player, 1 controller. We're gonna intentionally try and let a character die off.
Yeah.
15.
To explain why the Hellfire Chasm is so interesting, we have 10 floors. The 5th and the 10th is always the boss floor, but the floors in between are in random order with random spawn points, so you have to figure out on which floor you are, where the exit is, and go there as fast as possible. Additionally to that, we also have a world map floor where you can get 1 of 3 different world maps. And the time difference between the first and, well, the fastest and the slowest one is about like 1.5 minutes. Considering this is a 15-minute estimate.
I'm just going to set us up here.
Yeah.
As soon as we go through that door, that's when
Also,
the
that's a
timer
different
starts.
save file. With different names.
Right, this is... That was
Sorry,
for a
we have to
different
do
marathon.
this. I mean, for you guys, we want to go with the actual names. Because I'm pretty sure the guys who donated for the names actually want to see the actual characters
Right,
die.
that was for a different... my apologies. That's on me. I hadn't noticed I selected the wrong save there. That was one that I did for a different marathon, like, very long ago, actually. Teleport out.
Also, this is not part of the one that's
No,
just
this is
presetting,
just me.
so...
This is just me setting it up. That's why we can do it just a regular way.
Oh.
The island. Ethers.
I think Cruel forgot how to use the action buttons.
Yeah. It's a good thing that I have Indy for that. How about we go for it, Indy?
Yep.
Indy?
All right. So,
Okay.
guys, in chat, in the audience, are you ready for the final run of this marathon? Are you ready, Cruel?
I am ready.
I am so ready.
Okay, in 3, 2, 1, go! Okay, so we started with a spawn that's actually set. As Indy mentioned just now, random floors, random order, random spawns. So we know very little of what we're going to expect when as we go into the dungeon. There are only 10 floors. Floors 5 and 10 are set, so we do know what to expect there. The incentives will be cut off a floor earlier, so as we enter floor 4 or as we enter floor 9.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's just to give some time for donations to be processed so that we actually have the correct one as we go into the correct floor.
Yeah. So the first incentive that is going to be cut off then would be Scarmiglione versus Cagnazzo. So if you still want to decide on who we should fight, then get your donations in very fast. Maybe Thex can give us a little update about that.
Yeah, there is currently €2 towards Scarmiglione and 0 towards Cagnasso. So only €2 to make the difference.
That's pretty easy.
Got the bad spawn on this floor. Generally, we make a differentiation between like the good spawn, the average spawn, the bad spawn. This floor only has 2 spawn points, a good one and a bad one. We got the bad one. Downside is it's kind of hard to recognize whether you have the good or the bad one on this floor, just because both spawns look very similar. Okay, floor 3. That's a really bad spawn, actually.
You want to go dash?
No, turn dash off. So here we're going to actually turn dash off because we got the bad spawn. This is... You only have a couple frames to go into that... to go where that NPC is, and then go to the right. It's a really tight window, and I haven't practiced it in a while because you hardly ever get this particular spawn. Okay, dash on. Third try. That's acceptable. Yeah, you can see the shimmering tiles. That's the tiles where the encounters are at. You can avoid almost all of them. Some of them are harder than others. But this one, for example, we can just go around it. Over here, we can just go there. We do have to take one here. This is the only required one, and it is avoidable only if you get the good spawn. And then there's this one. Okay, we're cutting off the incentive now.
Yep, so Scarmiglione won.
Nice. Up and then left.
Up and left. Took me a while to recognize this floor.
And see, this is like the big thing here. You have to recognize which floor it is. Especially the lava floors are pretty annoying since there are multiple of them. But at least we can do some lava boosts.
Okay, so we're gonna go up to Scarmiglione. We will do a full party heal here, and I think we should save before this fight.
Yeah.
We can kill the ninja on the last one.
Yeah, sounds good.
Heal with white mage, attack everybody else. So this is Scarmiglione Phase 1. It's actually the easier part of this. Scarmiglione Phase 1 doesn't do a whole lot.
he used thunder. Oh, my body.
So that's Scarmiglione phase 1. But that's not actually the actual form of Scarmiglione. And this is also the only boss in this dungeon where there's 2 phases, and you actually have to fight them right after the other.
Which makes this fight the slower one.
This is Scarmiglione phase 2, also known as Mylon Z, as it's called Mylon in the original version. He can do physical attacks, which basically don't do anything, or he can use poison gas, which can basically kill the entire party. That's also why we heal every turn, even though he doesn't seem to do anything.
That's the poison gas. Oh!
High point.
I think they're cheering us up.
The heck?
You know what would be the worst thing? If they would be booing and dabbing at the same time.
So Phoenix Downs, Ether. Oh, sorry, wrong one.
I don't know what they're talking about.
Me neither. Let's go.
Yep.
Okay, so we actually got the good world map.
Yes! Woo!
That is an instant 2-minute time save over the bad world map. So, very nice there. So this one, we just go into the water here, into the canal, and from there we can just go to the end. In the worst world map, you actually have to go get the Levy Stone, then get an airship, and then fly to the end. And it takes a very long time to do so. Now the middle world map is actually only about like 30 seconds slower than this one. It's still significantly faster than the bad one. No, that's the good spawn here.
Yeah. That's a good bad spawn.
Yeah, I see what you did there.
I'm so funny sometimes.
The white tiles here are actually safe, which is why we try and walk on those if possible.
This is basically lava boosting, but without actually boosting.
Oh,
all right.
Going the wrong way. It's up and right.
Yeah. Also, after that floor, we might want to heal.
The next one should be a pretty easy lava floor. But I agree, we should probably throw in some Hilaras. This is where we cut off the last incentive, by the way.
Alright, that means Rubicante won.
Nice. So, yeah. What my mom always said, you can't spell legendary without legs.
Also, we should haste on this fight.
Okay.
Hilara with the white mage, haste with the black mage. Okay, let's do this. There. And let's save.
So, going into the last fight.
Here we go. This Rubicante time is the moment that we beat him, essentially. We're going to haste up here mainly just to ensure that we have a bit of a better chance of actually killing him before he kills us. Because this fight can actually be dangerous.
I mean, even if we would have a living ninja, but we don't need a ninja in this game.
Especially if he keeps doing physical attacks.
Yeah.
Yeah, get ready on time.
Oh. Baraga, should be good.
This
Black
is
mage
the...
dies, probably. No,
No.
Oh,
It's
okay,
it's
fine.
another. We still have the ribbons.
Oh, fair enough.
This is where ribbons definitely saved us.
Get ready. should be dead next round.
I hope so, because we just healed and he had yet to attack. Okay, he did a physical. It's fine. Mira is okay.
This should be it. Come on.
Time.
Time!
So yeah, that is Final Fantasy 1 any percent PSP with Hellfire Chasm as a bonus dungeon done 2-player, 1 controller.
With what time?
9:44.
Okay,
Wow, that's really
we
good.
stayed sub 10. That's pretty
Nice.
impressive. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed Final Fantasy 1. Thank you, Indy, for joining me on this. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you for doing this with me, Cruel. It was pretty amazing.
And I think we're going to go into some quick afterthoughts. So
I mean, technically, I can just stay city here because Frosty's banned from the marathon, right?
if only.
I mean, you can do this.
So yeah, we'll be right back with you guys.
Like Cruel already said, quick intermission. But before that happens, we're running some ads.